Am I the asshole for getting upset when my mom told me that being disabled is my own fault?
No.
I, female 18, was run over by a car when I was 6.
Oh,
I was in a coma for a month, and one of my legs was crushed beyond repair and had to be amputated. While I was unconscious, my parents couldn't stop arguing, each blaming the other, saying the other was supposed to be looking after me. I woke up to discover my leg missing and my parents separated. They later got divorced.
You woke up to them being... Oh, my God.
bro.
Well, she was out
In
for
a
a month.
coma.
But I'm like, they move fast. They're like, yeah, we're...
Yeah.
Imagine you're in a
over.
coma dream and you just wake up like, my life's in shambles.
Your
Yeah.
parents are like, yeah, we're getting divorced. You're like, you guys were married.
Can I
before
deal with
that.
one thing at a time? My leg's
Please.
gone. Let's worry about that first.
Mom had primary custody of us while we only got to see our dad every other weekend. I have 2 brothers, age 4 and 7 at the time, and they both blame me for the divorce. Though as they got over the shock, they realized that it was unfair and apologized to me. I discovered recently that my mom has continued to secretly blame me. I have a prosthetic leg, and with it, I'm able to be independent, including taking the public bus to school by myself. On the journey to school in the morning, it's always very busy, and some people have to stand. Most people take this bus every day and know me, and someone always offers me their seat if there are none available when I get on. I can't stand because it's hard for me to keep balance. This morning, there was an empty seat in the section reserved for disabled and elderly people, so I took it. The lady I sat down next to, she looked to be in her late 50s maybe, told me that I shouldn't be sitting there, that I was young and healthy, so I should stand. Also, her friend was getting on in a few stops, and she was an old lady who deserved the seat more than me. I chose not to dignify her with a response, though my younger brother and some kids from my school who heard her were trying to tell her that I need it. Her friend got on the bus, and the lady told me to get up, and I didn't move. My schoolmates continued to tell her that I needed it, and my brother told me to lift up my trousers so she would see. I told him that I wouldn't. This was, sadly, not the first time I was harassed on a bus transport, and I was done with this BS. I know I have the right to stay in that seat, and not everyone is able to visually prove their disability, so I refuse to do so. The bus driver got involved and told her to stop harassing me or she would have to get off. She wouldn't, so the driver made her get off. Her friend was not made to get off. She listened to my schoolmates and tried to calm her down. When I told the story to my mom, she said that I was rude and should have given up my seat. She said that I wasn't born with my disability and I ended up like this because I was stupid and reckless. It is true that I ran into the road without looking. The driver of the car couldn't stop. It wasn't his fault. He waited with me until an ambulance came and even wrapped his jumper around my wound to stop the bleeding. I was unconscious for this, but witnesses saw it. It was my fault, but I was only 6 years old, and I think I've been punished enough.
Right.
My mom kept on going. It was like a floodgate had opened. She told me that if I hadn't been so stupid, I would still have my leg, and she would still have a husband. Now I have felt guilty over the years and thought the same thing to myself, and then I reassure myself that no one else blames me. My brothers only did because they were young and in shock. Dad even said so himself, that the divorce was none of the kids' fault. I just couldn't believe that I had actually heard those words come out of her mouth. Mom accidentally clamped her hand against her mouth. She started apologizing and said she didn't mean it, and I didn't want to listen to her apologies. I was very hurt by what she said. I went to my room crying. I decided I didn't want to be here, so I packed a suitcase, called my dad. He told me he'd be right there. After I finished packing, I heard shouting, so I went to the front door where my dad was really laying into my mom, and she was crying. When she saw my suitcase, she told me that I couldn't just leave, but I told her that I'm 18 and I can do as I wish. I'm at my dad's house now, and now that I'm calmed down, I feel pretty rotten about making my mom cry and then just walking out on her. Am I the asshole? And then there's an update. Wow, I can't believe the responses to this. Thank you all for commenting, and thank you to everyone who has sent me supportive messages. There really isn't any news. I'm still at my dad's, and I haven't spoken to my mom yet. She has tried to call me, but I didn't answer. I didn't feel like speaking to her right now. I sent her a text asking her to give me some time, and she hasn't called back again. I notice a lot of people are making assumptions about what happened when I had the accident, and I don't think either of my parents are to blame. Here's what happened. Mom and Dad were both in the house while my brothers and I were in our fenced-in front garden. My older brother and I were allowed to leave the garden to play at the houses of other children on our street. We weren't allowed to leave the street, and we weren't allowed to play in it either. As long as we asked first, we could go somewhere else. We had been taught to cross the road safely, but as we live on a quiet street with a little traffic, we stupidly felt safe often forgetting to look both ways. The street we live on is a small side street with a dead end. The only cars are those belonging to residents or their visitors, so it isn't a busy street. A friend of mine lived across the street, and I saw her arriving home with her mom. She called me over to play, so I asked my mom, who said yes. I darted across the road from in between two parked cars. I was only looking forward to my friend's house a few doors down on the right and not to the left, where there was a car almost right on top of me. There was no time for the driver to stop. I can only remember up to the point where I ran into the road and my mom's friend screamed my name. So the rest of the story is secondhand information from the witnesses. My brothers, my friend, her mom, and the next door neighbor. The driver was the adult son of a couple who live at the end of the street. He was a student living at home. I think he was around 20 at the time. Witnesses estimated that he was going about 20 miles per hour, which is the speed limit on our street. The two adult witnesses told the police exactly what happened and made sure to make it clear that the driver wasn't at fault, so he didn't get into any trouble.